Good evening, and thank you for joining us for tonight's We Care for Kids Town Hall. I'm Taryn Vanderford from 1011 News here in Lincoln. This event is made possible by the We Care for Kids campaign, a statewide effort in Nebraska to build support for quality early childhood education. Parents, families, teachers, and communities are coming together to raise awareness about early childhood care and education, and are working to ensure that families across Nebraska have access. That campaign is supported by dozens of organizations across the state and is funded by public and private sources, including the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services and the Nebraska Department of Education. So we are excited for the conversation tonight and to share how you can get involved. So we want to hear from you tonight, and we will be taking your questions soon. If you've joined us by phone, you can press 0 on your keypad at any time to be added to the queue to ask a question. For those of you watching on social media, please type your questions into the comments section. So before we get to our discussion, I would like to introduce our guest tonight. We are fortunate to have leaders in the early childhood education field from across the state. We have Dr. Tawana Grover, Superintendent of Grand Island Public Schools, where she oversees over 20 schools and nearly 10,000 students from across the district. Dr. Grover was Grand Island Public Schools' first female superintendent and Nebraska's first African-American superintendent, and has led the district in increasing students in advanced placement, or AP, classes and increasing funding. Deb Raymond is the Associate Vice President of Early Childhood at the Nebraska Children and Families Foundation and is currently living in Weeping Water, Nebraska. Deb has spent the last 27 years in early childhood education as a teacher, child care provider, preschool owner, and public school coordinator and coach. Deb leads the Sixpence Child Care Partnership Program and is a mother and grandmother to biological, adoptive, and foster children. We are also excited to have Nebraska families' voices represented tonight with Kelsey Sayer, who is a parent ambassador with the Nebraska Early Childhood Collaborative. Kelsey also serves as a parent educator and home visiting specialist with Humboldt, Table Rock, Steiner Public Schools. Kelsey is a former child care director working with Pawnee County Communities for Kids and has 3 of her own young children. So before we begin, please remember that we want to hear from those of you watching on social media or listening by phone. Now, you can submit questions by using your telephone number on the screen. So look for that telephone number on the screen, or posting your questions on social media. If you are joining us by phone, just press 0 on your phone keypad at any time to be added to the queue. All right, let's get started tonight. So first up, we have Dr. Grover. Dr. Grover, as a public school superintendent, can you tell us what makes the earliest years, that being birth to age 8, such an important time for young children to learn and to develop?
Karen, thank you so much for that important question. Research tells us that nearly 90% of brain development takes place during a child's first 5 years of life. This is strengthened even more with positive interactions and learnings from families, teachers, and peers. You see, these earliest years are when kids are developing skills that will last their entire lifetime. We see this play out years and years down the road in their later life success. Children who receive quality early childhood education, they're better prepared to learn in grade school. They're more likely to read by the 4th grade, and they're more likely to graduate and go on to college, which is so much of the aspirations that we have. This is why early childhood teachers are so critical to our young kids. They know exactly how to enhance and enrich the skills that are forming in those earliest years and make sure that they are developing the knowledge that will shape positive outcomes in the future.
All right, thank you for that. The next question is for Deb Raymond. Deb, what role do early childhood teachers play in making sure that children receive a quality education?
The most important role. Parents and families are children's very first teachers, but most Nebraska children aren't with their parents for many hours of the day. Nebraskans are known for just working hard. In Nebraska, more than 76% of children under age 6 live in homes where all adults work, and that's higher than the national average. Additionally, 70% of mothers with infants and toddlers are in the labor force, and that means that most parents with young children are working. And this is where quality early childhood teachers come in. Families need peace of mind when they go to work, knowing that their infants, toddlers, and preschoolers are being well prepared for success in life. And they're safe and in the care of a skilled early childhood educator. Like Dr. Grover said, teachers have the skills and understanding to make the most of the early years to really bring out the potential in young kids through early childhood education.
All right. And to follow up on that question now, what does quality early childhood education actually look like?
So quality is what each child experiences according to their age, needs, strengths, and natural development. And of course, the single most important factor is the person who provides that care and education, someone who understands families' values and culture and asks about their goals for their child. Quality educators take the time to really know children and to help promote their physical and emotional well-being through a close relationship that builds on their strengths to help them succeed. Teachers help kids overcome their challenges with patience and provide warm one-on-one interactions through play-based learning and build the skills for success. In quality learning, kids learn independently and with other students to follow their interests and learn new things. And most importantly, early educators are partners with families. They share updates on progress and help families and parents know what they can do at home to further nurture the child's development.
Deb, thank you for that. Next up, we have Kelsey Sayer. Kelsey, families and parents have faced immense challenges in the past few years, from the pandemic to the formula shortages in the stores. So what have you experienced as a parent yourself and as a parent ambassador in terms of challenges families face in finding and accessing quality care and education for their young kids?
What a great question. I know being a parent in the last 3 years has been extremely difficult. As you said, they've experienced COVID and closing of schools and their own offices, formula shortages, inflation, loss of childcare, and even high childcare costs. As a parent myself in a rural community, I have experienced having to stay home with my own children during the pandemic and had to make the decision as a child care director to temporarily close our center due to unknowns and the lack of employees. And in our rural communities, we saw an increase of the child care providers permanently closing due to the added stress of the pandemic. Which put a lot of our communities in even more of a childcare desert. This, of course, leads parents to have to make tough decisions about whether they can keep working or how they will find quality, safe, and reliable childcare for their children. As a parent ambassador, we have been hearing stories about the lack of quality childcare options in rural communities and how providers are struggling to keep the doors open to serve families. While this seems to be the problem in the rural Nebraska, the stories that I've heard coming out from parents during my parent ambassador meetings are that urban areas seem to have problem with the access to quality early childhood education for all children. And I really do want to give kudos to parents because they are on board and they know how important the first 5 years of a child's life are. And they really are striving for equality when it comes to quality childcare in all areas of Nebraska.
All right. Let's go back to Dr. Grover now. Dr. Grover, is Grand Island having similar challenges, would you say, and what kind of support does your community need?
Absolutely. You know, life changed at such a critical stage for our early learners during this pandemic. So much of their growth and development is around socialization. And the pandemic, in many ways, it created isolation for families and students alike. And so paying close attention to active engagement with the peers and connections with families and friends has been a critical part of restoring, the services that we provide for our early childhood education families. And one of the ways, and we really need more expansion of this in our area, has been through our community schools. We have embedded a community school within our early childhood program, and it's been a game changer. With that community school, is giving families the opportunity to take some of the ownership of problem solving together. They have parent cafes where they are strategizing, they're talking about community resources. And sometimes they're just from parent to parent having a shoulder to cry on, to lean on, and in many ways creating a space that's safe for vulnerability so that they can get the healing and the hope that they need. And so by partnering, with the school district and community organizations, we were able to dedicate that type of space for those interactions with our families right there on site and connecting with those professionals. And so we won't be able to solve it alone. And so just knowing that collaboration together will help to come up with very innovative solutions that are very specific to your community, and overall giving other people across the state ideas that they can learn from as well.
All right. Dr. Grover, you serve as a member of the We Care for Kids campaign advisory group. How is We Care for Kids working in Nebraska to overcome some of the challenges that families face to help children have access to quality early care education?
Well, we just simply need to do more work to make sure that families across Nebraska have access to quality early childhood education. We Care for Kids provides the information and the tools people need where they can do what we talked about, come together, collaborate, and develop solutions that are in the best interest of children. Nebraskans, they want early childhood success. They want to see students succeed in school, and it starts right in our local communities. As a superintendent, I can tell you that it doesn't come easily for all children, often because their parents, they struggle to find and afford quality early childhood education. I think we just heard from Kelsey talking about some of the tough decisions that she had to make. And so children who have had quality early childhood education, we have to remember this, whether it's at home or with early educators or a combination, that they truly need it. I have seen the power of communities embracing education and educators across the state, and the We Care for Kids is certainly a catalyst for that kind of partnership and problem solving. The We Care for Kids website, it is a wealth of information to help families and communities understand that we are facing a child care crisis in the state of Nebraska. It highlights the importance of quality early childhood education. It helps families find early care and learning. And you can hear from early childhood teachers, understand how important their work is and how we can support them. And there is also a toolkit to help you raise awareness and to rally your community to build local solutions. So just go to nebraskacaresforkids.org. Everything is available, and I love that it's available in English and Spanish.
So true. All right, Dr. Grover, thank you for that. And a reminder, we will be taking questions from the audience very soon. So please remember that we want to hear from those of you watching via social media, or if you are listening by phone, you can submit questions by using the telephone number on your screen or posting your question on social media. Now, if you are joining us by phone, just press 0 on your phone keypad at any time to be added to the queue. So our next question now goes to Kelsey Sayer. Kelsey, can you tell us more about the Parent Ambassador Program and how families and communities are working together to ensure kids can access early childhood education?
I would love to. The Parent Ambassador Program is a year-long leadership and advocacy program for parents of early learners in Nebraska. And the goal of this program is to develop parent leaders and support them in advocating for their children, themselves, and their communities. Through the Parent Ambassador Program, I have been able to meet a diverse group of parents who are each focusing on certain aspects of early childhood, such as special needs, foster care, and my specialty was childcare. I have learned so much through other parents, the collaboration opportunities that I have and the conferences that we attend. The program has actually given me the knowledge and confidence to speak to my local senator about the importance of quality childcare in Nebraska's District 1. And that is something that I hope to continue even after this year is over. And, one thing I love to do is give shout outs. So I want to give another kudos to the outstanding panelists. I agree with everything that we're saying. And I love seeing a superintendent at the table. Parents look to school districts, and I like having schools on board with early childhood education because I think that is key. I also can't forget that the child care providers and parents who have joined us tonight, our providers are out there rocking it, and our communities would not work without them. So I'm glad they're here tonight, and I'm glad that they're around and they're keep pushing through. The biggest thing we can do to ensure childcare ensure children can access quality early childhood education is to spread awareness and to bring everybody to the table. And this includes not only all of us that are here today, but city officials, business leaders, providers, and everybody who has anything to do with children. Access to quality early childhood education is not a problem for just parents. It is a whole community problem, and it is the key to the betterment of our society.
All right, thank you for that. Now to our final question before we start taking questions from you, those of you who are following along. This goes to Deb Raymond. Deb, we've heard tonight firsthand about the challenges that families and communities face. So what can our listeners tonight do as a first step to address these challenges and help spread the word about the importance of early childhood education in our state?
So we're really fortunate that in Nebraska, there are so many resources and groups that support communities in trying to solve this problem. We Care for Kids could not have come at a more urgent time. There is just not enough childcare in our state. We know that 91% of the counties with licensed programs cannot meet the childcare demand of families, making it harder for parents to work and for children to have the early experiences that create a solid foundation for learning. Listeners today, that would be you, can join the campaign, sign up to get monthly email updates, learn about the resources available on the website, download and use the campaign toolkit to talk to your community and spread the word. There are templates available in the community toolkit that you can use to write a letter to the editor, posts for social media about stories that are unique to your community. For example, are you a parent that is having trouble finding childcare? How's your community coming together to make sure families have that access to quality early childhood programming? We Care for Kids wants to hear those stories from you, and they're available to help you get more involved. If you're a teacher, share your story. There's a form on the website where educators can submit their stories to be featured in a campaign and highlighted so more people can know the value of what you do, because we know your work is so very important.
All right, Deb, thank you for that. Also, thank you, Kelsey, and thank you, Dr. Grover, for answering all those questions tonight. So now we are going to turn it over to you, those of you listening, following along. If you have any questions that you would like to share, you can submit them now. You can use the telephone number on the screen, and you can post them on social media, or if you are joining by phone again, all you have to do is press 0 on your phone keypad at any time. Okay, so let's see, do we have a question? We do already. We have a question from Susan, who joins us via Facebook. She says, childcare professionals are the most essential workers. Deb, this question is for you. What types of training are early childhood teachers required to have?
So I would direct you to the DHHS website for childcare licensing. I don't have the website readily available, but I just Google DHHS childcare licensing, and you're going to be able to find different steps to become licensed and the steps that you need to take. Another caveat to that is we really encourage quality in Nebraska. And in addition to becoming licensed, I would say also check out the Step Up to Quality website. And then there's going to be additional trainings and an easy way to get signed up for Step Up to Quality as well.
Okay. Susan on Facebook, thank you for that question. Again, if you guys have any questions for us tonight, we are going until 7 o'clock. You can submit them by using the telephone number that's on your screen, posting them on social media, which is very simple. That's what Susan did on Facebook. Or if you are joining us by phone, just press 0 on your phone keypad at any time. Okay, let's see. Do we have any other questions coming in? Looks like Mary Jane is on the phone. Mary Jane, what's your question?
Well, really, I didn't have so much as a question. I'm calling from outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I was raised and educated in Nebraska all through college, and so were my siblings. But my mother was an elementary teacher, and I know that the teachers undergo a lot of stress, not necessarily from the kids, although since I've seen the kids here create stress for their teachers, it's also parents. So I don't know that if parents can be more of a guidance for their children while they're in school, while they're school age, and also if they can give them some responsibilities at home so that they learn to do different things in life, and as well as searching for their further education. That's all I had to say.
Okay, Mary Jane, thank you for that. Anybody want to follow up to what Mary Jane just said?
I guess I will. I believe that children, when you start working with them in early childhood with quality early childhood education, that gives them the guidance for the rest of their life. So if we want those children to be responsible, have social, emotional skills, and all those great things that make them good learners in school, I think it does start at early childhood, and it does start from those 0 to 5 and with those educators and with those parents. And I encourage parents to reach out to resources if they are having trouble with anything going on in their lives or with their children. So I'm a firm believer that early childhood is so important, and to set those standards for the rest of the life.
Great, Kelsey, thank you. And it looks like we have another caller with a question. This is Tamara in Barnston. Hello, Tamara.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So my question is that these larger cities that have these resources available, while the surrounding towns don't have them, so would the larger cities have these resources available to support the smaller outreach communities that have students that have different abilities or require more support? Would that larger community be able to support that outstanding numbers from smaller cities?
Who would like to take that question from Tamara? Anybody?
Tamara, could you clarify what resources that you're referring to? Is it resources in a school district or resources for a child care, or what specific resources you're looking for?
I guess her question is how to leverage EC resource from neighboring areas. Does that help you, Deb?
What's the largest neighboring community that Barnston is close to? Anyone familiar with that? Kelsey, is Barnston close to you?
It is not, but
It's on the Kansas border, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Falls City, perhaps.
Okay. I guess for me, coming from that area, because Humboldt is close to Falls City, we do see that there are resources other places. I like to think of Southeast Nebraska as a big collaborative because we have so many great things going on. So if you are in Barnston and it's close to Falls City, there are so many places to reach out for the community. I work for Sixpence, and there are 3 Sixpence programs that work together to make sure that we're serving all of our communities in Southeast Nebraska. And we are working with Community for Kids as well. My thing would be, I would reach out to your local school district, to a home visiting program, or to anybody that is a leader in early childhood education around your area, even a provider. They would be able to give you resources that maybe if you didn't have it locally, they would be able to give you a phone number or make that phone call for you or give you those connections.
And I would also add in your health district and your EDN and also your educational service unit. You'd probably be covered. And Head Start, you'd probably be covered with all of those different entities.
Having kind of a community partnership going.
Yeah.
Great.
One other thing to emphasize about the We Care for Kids, this idea of looking for bright spots across the state, right? So we know some smaller communities that they've had those conversations, they've been able to problem solve. And I think Grand Island would be considered probably one of the largest cities. We do have like a Hall County collaborative. When we're having trainings and resources, we invite other people to the table to be a part of it. But I like that all those tools, resources, points of contact. And so what I love about her call is saying, hey, we want to figure it out and get it in contact with the right people that can help get the ball moving in those areas. I think We Care for Kids would be a catalyst for moving that forward.
Yeah. So really, We Care for Kids is, it's the hub. It's the hub for early childhood. You go to the We Care for Kids website, and all of these partners across our state are going to be represented on there. And hopefully you can find what you're looking for on the We Care for Kids website.
Perfect. Okay. Let's look. We have another question coming in. This is from Michael on Facebook, a question for Kelsey. And Michael says, how might someone reach out to local officials or decision makers to tell their story and raise awareness? Can you share what you did when you contacted your senator?
Okay, this is such a great question. So when I started my parent ambassador journey, I was like, there is no way I'm going to talk to a senator or a local official. That is not my gig. I don't want to do that. They gave me great resources and reminded me that our local officials and our senators are here to serve us. And that gave me the confidence to be like, hey, these are the problems going on. I guess what I would do, my opinion for you to do is start off with an email, start off with a phone call, have something written out. So it's kind of a script for you. So it kind of gives you a good idea of what you're going to say, something that you're very passionate about. One thing that the parent ambassadors kind of taught me too was that you want to come in with solutions too. So you come in and say, this is very important to me. This is why, telling your story, and this is what I think would make it better. And then get other people involved too. So I think that is something that I've been doing too. And Parent Ambassadors has given me the confidence to do that. And I want to share that with other people as well. So just reach out, find their phone numbers, find their emails, and you will see that they are willing to listen to you because they are here to serve you. They are public officials.
All right, perfect. Michael, thank you for that question. We now have a question from Erica on Facebook, and she says, we've heard how important it is for schools, parents, and educators at the table when it comes to early childhood education. If communities don't currently have all groups at the table, how do you get those conversations started? So maybe Dr. Grover, do you want to take that question and then maybe toss it to Kelsey?
Yes, absolutely. I do think that it starts with one conversation at a time. And I know it can sometimes seem frightening, as Kelsey talked about, to think that the school districts, how do I get in contact? Who do I get in contact with? And I just do believe, and I've seen this happen time and time again, just start with one phone call with whomever you feel comfortable with. And I guarantee that they will help to begin those conversations. And I can remember when we first started, economic development and chamber, sometimes people underestimate their power in your communities, because think about it. They're trying to attract businesses. They're trying to attract employees. And so what do most parents want and need? They're going to need some type of childcare, and they're going to want to know what that's like within their communities. And so just starting the conversation, sometimes it starts over a cup of coffee, and just being able to express a need and begin to galvanize the right people. And I cannot stress enough about organizations like the We Care for Kids, just sending a chat, a Facebook post, or picking up the telephone and just making those connections. And one thing I love about the state of Nebraska, if you put out a call to action, people will come to answer the call.
Kelsey, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, I don't know that I have much more to say. Dr. Grover said it perfectly. One thing you can do is you can take the campaign like We Care for Kids and bring it to the table and say, this is what Nebraska wants. This is what I want. They're doing the hard work for you, getting the resources for you, giving you the social media aspects of it, and take it there. And it is one conversation. And I always encourage people that even if you don't think you should be at the table, if it's important to you, you need to show up, because I didn't think that I would ever be speaking, and here I am being a strong voice for parents because I showed up to the table and I've put in the effort for doing that. So I encourage all parents to do that as well, and make sure that you are just having those conversations and you're using the resources that you're being given from other entities.
All right. Let's head back to the phone line now. We have Patricia on the line. She is calling from Alliance. Hello, Patricia.
This is Patricia from Alliance, and my question is about Head Start. What role do you see Head Start playing at this time and then continuing to play in the future?
I think I can start it off on the Head Start, because I'm a Head Start kid myself, so I always have great love for Head Start. And actually, Head Start is a partner for Grand Island Public Schools. We have several locations. We have an early childhood education center. We also have some school-based early childhood education classrooms, but we also have some that are supported by Head Start. And so whether Head Start is a standalone program or they are a partner for you, they are still able to help create what I call quality early childhood education seats. And it is all about the access. And it takes a number of different partnerships in order to increase the number of seats for our early childhood students.
All right. I love all these questions coming in. Thank you to everybody following along. We have Mike now. He's calling from Auburn. Hi, Mike.
Hello. Yeah, this is Mike Zeruba. I just I got a question, but I want to make a comment first. I really appreciate what District 29, Sixpence, and Step Up to Quality has done for our daycare. So my question is this. It's kind of a two-part question. On a local level, what are some strategies we can do to increase staffing? I think that staffing has been an issue for our daycare to some extent. It probably prevented a little bit of expansion for us that we could have considered. And then on the second part of the question, what can we do at a state level? I mean, we have relationships with state senators and DHHS, but sometimes I don't think they really realize that it's hard in small communities to find staffing, to get those people to work, and what kind of partnerships can we form at the state level to improve staffing across the state of Nebraska? And so those are my two questions. I'd be interested in the panel's answers.
All right. Who would like to take Mike's question? Deb?
Yeah, I can sure take that one. And Mike, thank you for calling in. And we are honored to have Sixpence has been honored to partner with Auburn. And the issue that you're referring to with the workforce is not a Auburn only problem. That is a problem that rural communities and cities are facing, not only in Nebraska. I'm spending this week at a national conference with states trying to put their heads together to figure out what can we do to solve these issues. And it's a national crisis. And I'm just going to tell you that campaigns like this one, where we are getting the word out about the importance of early childhood, we're bringing business leaders to the table, we're bringing the doctors in the community to the table, just bringing the communities together to understand the importance of early childhood. That's what we need to do. And there are people working really, really hard to try to come up with a solution for these big issues. So hang in there. It's not a quick fix, and I hope we have some real solutions soon.
All right. Mike, thank you for that great question. Looks like we have a similar question about pay from Kim on Facebook. We hear often that early childhood professionals are not paid well. What can we do to change that? And how can we increase the early childhood workforce? Kelsey, would you like that?
Yeah, this is such a tough question because when I was talking with my parent ambassador group, I have other childcare providers and early childhood educators who love children and want to see children thrive, and it is their passion, but they can't make ends meet because they're not getting paid. They don't have the resources, they're not getting health care. I mean, there's just it goes on. And one thing I do kind of want to say from being a child care director and being a parent, I think transparency goes a long ways. I know as a child care director, when I had to have those tough conversations with parents, when I sat down with them and told them, hey, we are doing our best. We are trying to provide for our employees who are watching the most precious thing in your life. Those kind of conversations, plus with the pandemic, everybody was kind of like, the pandemic was so hard, but it really brought to life how important early childhood providers and early childhood workers are, which I am thankful for because it's brought campaigns like this. And it's also, if you look coming forward in the legislation, there are legislative laws coming out that are helping early childhood providers. So I encourage people to look at those and to be talking about those things. And, the wording on those can be very, very hard to see, but reach out to people because there are things that are going on. So, like Deb said, hang in there. There are great things coming. These conversations are just stirring up more interest. And as we can see, like Deb said, it is not specific to a certain community. It is statewide. And I'm just so hopeful that things like We Care for Kids is going to move forward, and it's going to give our early childhood workforce the recognition and the compensation that they need.
Okay, Kim, thank you for that question. Wow, getting a lot of great questions tonight. A reminder again, if you would like to comment or make a question and you joined us by phone, you can just press 0 on your phone keypad at any time, and you'll be added to the queue so that you can then ask your question to the panel here. So you can also comment on social media, like Facebook there, like Kim just did. So lots of ways for you to voice your opinions tonight. Let's move on to another question here for you, Deb. What should families do as they begin looking for quality early childhood care and education? What steps should they be taking now to plan ahead?
So in Nebraska, there are many amazing advocates and organizations that provide resources for families to help them know where to start. One of the goals of We Care for Kids is to, like I mentioned earlier, bring all these resources together in one place that's easy for parents and families to navigate and learn more about what to look for in their search. A great place to start is nebraskacaresforkids.org. In the For Families section, you can learn more about how to find great quality programs and see a list of characteristics that describes what quality looks like. The page also links out to some of the amazing resources from Nebraska organizations, including the Nebraska Child Care Referral Network, which is really amazing. It includes a searchable map where you can type in your zip code and it'll pop up programs and give you the availability of the programs. You can also go to the Step Up to Quality website to find providers that are enrolled in Step Up to Quality. There's links to the Nebraska Early Development Network for families of young children with developmental delays or healthcare needs. You'll find a checklist from the University of Nebraska for choosing quality childcare, and information on childcare subsidies for families. The list of resources continues to grow. Everyone's adding their resources as we learn more about We Care for Kids. And it's updated often. If you have specific questions or even additional resources to share, we encourage you to reach out to the campaign team and they will get them added.
Perfect. Okay, let's now have a question for Dr. Grover. So we know that the pandemic and remote learning has been a challenge for schools. It's been a challenge for teachers in the past couple of years. Can you tell us what some of the challenges early childhood teachers face, and did they feel supported?
Wow. It just seems like there was just so much impact from the pandemic. And, many teachers, they felt overwhelmed by so much of what they couldn't control. They took a lot of ownership and personal accountability for wanting to be able to serve students well. And part of being able to serve students well, it kind of goes back to the gentleman's question about the workforce shortages. Because even if we think about the provider themselves, if you are the early childhood educator, but there are also other supports, whether they're para-educators, whether it's custodians, lunchroom workers, and other providers, they rely on so much of that for the holistic approach to working with students. And when there were shortages, the teachers, the providers themselves, they had to step in and cover all of those duties. And so I think that is an awareness, a conversation that certainly needs to be held within communities to kind of talk about how we work together as we face some of the shortages, because it's overwhelming. And again, we have the most precious lives with us, with our babies, our students. And so many of the early childhood education teachers, and I went over to talk with ours specifically, I think understanding their unique needs, even though we are a K-12, pre-K-12 setting, there's something unique about our early childhood teachers. And they talked a lot about their mental health supports. Can we rethink their schedules? How are we able to understand what type of breaks and support that they need? And as you mentioned about so many of the challenges that the students face, are we retooling the training that they need? Do we understand what's relevant for them right now? And above else, the gratitude. Let's not forget the gratitude and the appreciation in whatever way, because sometimes just that little acknowledgement, it can give people the strength that they need to wake up and do it all over again tomorrow.
That is so true. Okay. We have a question now on the phone line from Lisa in Elkhorn. Lisa, what's your question?
Hi. I'm not a parent, but I certainly understand the importance of making quality early childhood education and care accessible for all of Nebraska's youngest residents. So what can I do as a community volunteer or as a business owner to advocate for this important topic?
Who would like to take that, Deb?
Sure. At the Thriving Conference last week, there was one thing that really stood out to me, and it was a kind of a question like that. How can I, as a business owner that doesn't really have a lot of ties, what can I do? And someone had mentioned, even just on your website, we support early childhood. Or, We Care for Kids has created some really amazing tools for you to use. Having something on your website or just having some signage at your business, that just letting people know that you support early childhood, it matters.
Perfect.
And one of the things I would add to would be is to reach out to the local providers to understand what that gap is. Oftentimes we're trying to solve a problem, but we have to know what it is. And we've seen situations where businesses, they have stepped up and they maybe have adjusted their shift that parents start maybe by 5 or 10 minutes because they're trying to either get the students at a time that maybe the provider opens, or they may need to leave at a time before they're closed. Just little things like that can go a long way. We've also had organizations step up to provide extra workers, whether it's for a couple of hours or maybe a rotating schedule or creating space, even in your own businesses. How cool is that? If you're able to create the own space. So it just kind of depends on what level of engagement, but going to the provider saying, what is the gap, and begin those problem solving solutions together.
And it could be something small. When I ran a family childcare business, do you know how much I spent on paper towels? And as a business owner, that might be something that's very insignificant for you, that if there's a program that you could partner up with and say, hey, I would like to donate some paper towels to you every once in a while. And something very small for you as a business could really make a huge difference in the life of a provider.
All right. Kelsey, let's have you answer a question here about what kind of support is out there for families who are interested in early childhood education, but do not have the resources to send their kids to a local program, or maybe they're on a wait list.
So we know that access to affordable early childhood programs is a challenge for many families, and there are several programs in Nebraska that are available to help with this. One of the things to get childcare help would be childcare subsidy, which we've talked about with the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services website. Like Deb, I don't have the website in front of me, but you can go there and you can apply. It is income-based, but they do help parents pay for childcare. Another thing that is great is to check with your local school districts and Head Start. I know that in our community, there is some childcare gaps, and one thing is that we don't have a preschool to take 3-year-olds. So what we're trying to do is let parents know that there is a Head Start that has openings, and how great would it be that we can get your child into Head Start until they're able to go into a public school. So talking with your local school districts and finding out if there is a Head Start in your community, that helps with the childcare aspect, and even if your family's on a wait list. Some other things that kind of help if you're needing help with childcare specifically is talking to providers about scholarships or sliding fee scales or discounts that they may offer for having multiple children. And then the last thing would be look and see if your community has a local home visiting program, such as Sixpence. In my program personally have some children, again, that they don't have access to a 3-year-old preschool, but they also don't have a spot for them in childcare. So what we're doing is we're kind of filling that gap with the home visiting, where we're teaching the parent, and I'm also teaching the provider that is with that child. So like a grandma, how to kind of parent and interact with that child, so they are getting quality education while they're waiting to get into a 4-year-old preschool and in a local school district.
Deb, a question for you. I know that the Nebraska Children and Families Foundation supports the Sixpence program. Could you tell us a bit about the program and how families can access the services?
So I would love to talk about Sixpence, and a shout out to our Sixpence programs and communities across the state that are having some watch parties tonight. So a little bit history of Sixpence. Sixpence was established in 2006 when major state agencies and private philanthropy came together to provide sustainable funding for high quality early learning opportunities, targeting Nebraska's youngest, most at-risk children. What we have found is that no single early learning program or service model can address the unique challenges facing individual families with infants and toddlers at risk statewide. So this is why Sixpence funds locally designed and managed partnerships that are highly responsive to the early learning needs of families where they live. Each Sixpence funded partnership consists of the community school district working closely with various organizations, agencies, and service providers who match their grant award through local funds and resources. With each Sixpence funded partnership, we have 3 different models. So we have a family engagement home-based service model, which is what Kelsey has referred to, and she's one of our Sixpence home visitors. The programs match families with skilled professionals like Kelsey, trained to model and coach parents in high quality, developmentally positive interactions with their youngest children. And then we have a center-based early care and education services, which is like you would refer to as like a child care in a school or a center classroom in an educare. And those services are operating in close partnership with local school systems. These centers follow proven curricula, emphasize parent involvement, and maintain appropriate adult to child ratios and reflect professional requirements for staff similar to those endorsed by Nebraska Department of Education. And then our third model, which is the one that I oversee, is called Sixpence Child Care Partnerships. And that one is federally funded through a subaward from Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services to Nebraska Children and Families Foundation. The CCDF funds are allocated to 9 school districts across Nebraska. Our coaches and program coordinators serve 28 centers and 26 childcare homes for a total of 950 infants and toddlers that we're serving across the state. Their goal is to support childcare providers in achieving higher quality for those vulnerable infants and toddlers so they can lead a successful, thriving life.
Okay. And if you would like that DHHS site, we can share that with you where people can find subsidy information is what I'm trying to say. And that would be dhhs.ne.gov if you'd like to find more information there. It's also linked in the family section of the We Care for Kids website. Okay, so hopefully that'll help some people out. Kelsey, could you share about what home visiting is?
Yeah, I would love to. When we talk about Sixpence and home visitors or parent educators, you can kind of tell them both. It is a program where we have at-risk family and children who are voluntarily enrolled in our program, and we go into homes and we teach parents. A lot of the times they say, your teacher's here, but that's not the case. We want the parents to know that they are their child's first teacher. So we are going into homes and we are giving parents the tools to teach their child, to have interaction with their child. And we're also giving resources for things they might need, like help for housing, help for food, anything that comes up, how to pick a quality childcare program. And we are there to support parents, encourage parents, and to make sure that parents are able to advocate for their children as they grow. Our home visiting program is birth, so prenatal, or until 3 years old. And then after that, we help families transition into a public school or a Head Start so they can continue their journey with education.
All right. Well, you know what? This hour has flown by, right? Don't we all think that?
Wow.
I love all the questions we had tonight. That was so great. We have about 5 minutes left in tonight's discussion. So before we wrap up, I have one final question for Dr. Grover. For families who are struggling to find quality early childhood care and education in their communities, what is the best thing that they can do right now?
Wow. And I just want to thank my colleagues for being on here with us today. I think this picture on the screen, it really speaks to the collaboration. Like, that is key. And there are a few great resources out there available to Nebraska families, and We Care for Kids has made them available in one place. We know parents, they like simple. in one place on their website. Visit nebraskacaresforkids.org and go to the section called For Families. For Families. There you will see an option to learn how to find quality early childhood education in Nebraska. On that page of the site, there are great options available, including the Nebraska Child Care Referral Network, which it has a searchable list of licensed providers in Nebraska communities. I love it. It also links to the Step Up to Quality that we talked about tonight. Find a provider resource, which is searchable also by zip code, by age group, and type of programs families are interested in. In addition to these two resources, many of the campaign partners are also linked on this site, and listeners can explore other ways they can find help accessing quality early childhood education in their community. How exciting.
Any other resources the rest of you want to mention for families?
I think there's a really great list on the We Care for Kids.
Yeah.
Go there often.
Perfect. Okay. Any other questions tonight? This would be your chance. We have about 5 minutes left. If we have any other questions here that people would like to comment on Facebook or by phone, you can do that now. We have a few minutes left. Okay. Dr. Grover, I just want to ask you one other question here. Any examples or maybe community solutions that you'd like to share from Grand Island that listeners could take away?
Yeah, I think maybe just this one. I want to give some hope to the communities. They haven't figured out, they don't have a location. They don't even know where to start. And although we've had early childhood education in Grand Island Public Schools for many years, we just simply didn't have enough. So you really have to think about things on scale. But we were out having this conversation at a luncheon, and we were talking about our early childhood education needs. And there was a local developer in town, Mr. Ray O'Connor, and this story gives me chills every time. And he came up to me afterwards and he said, I want to help. And at that particular time, the old Shopco, it was closing. And he gave us the opportunity to turn that old Shopco building into a state-of-the-art early childhood education learning facility. This provided so much hope for our families. And I think when we had the developers in the school district and other people coming together, it created a sense of pride, and it communicated loudly that we care about kids. We care about early childhood education. We care about the future of our community. And that story can happen all across this state. Perfect.
Deb, any closing comments from you?
No, I just am a huge advocate for this campaign. And I feel like so many of our initiatives have at the heart of them, we want to do the best for kids, and we are all working so hard. And I love that this campaign brings us together to help us collaborate together.
And Kelsey, anything you'd like to add tonight?
I just want to thank community. Thank the communities that are working towards early childhood education, and everybody who decided to come and listen to us tonight and who ask questions. This is really how you start. Everybody keeps asking, how do you start? How do we make this better? How are we going to go about this? This is how you start. Just like Dr. Grover said, it takes one conversation to lift everything. So I want to thank everybody who's asked questions and everybody who has been listening, and the We Care for Kids just for giving us a platform to share our passion.
Great. Sounds like we had more than 1,000 people on the phone line tonight. So thank you so much for participating, for listening in. And thank you to Dr. Tawana Grover, Deb Raymond, and Kelsey Sayer for being on our panel tonight. We appreciate it so much. All right. Well, I'm Taryn Vanderford, 1011 News here in Lincoln. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We appreciate it. And for more information about everything that we discussed, you can find that information about early childhood education in Nebraska at visit nebraskacaresforkids.org. Again, nebraskacaresforkids.org is that website. So this concludes our program for tonight. Thank you so much for listening in. Have a great evening.
You.